Well, hi, and thanks for joining me in my shop, soon to not have an empty bench. I'm going to be taking that record player out, getting it up on my bench, so I can begin working on it. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with doing this kind of thing, there's a bit of a trick to getting these guys out, and the trick varies from record player to record player. But the first stage is just to try lifting it up and see if by some chance the record player is not locked in. And of course it is locked in. So there's a couple of clips underneath I have to swing, and I'm going to unplug it a little bit, so let me get on with that. Okay, try to ignore the gorgeous legs there. So I'm going to use the close-up camera. We're going to take a look for those clips and see if we can spot them up under there. And this is a little tricky for me. I'm looking up at a TV screen. There's one there. There's one there. So we have to tip that. So now I'm going to try and see if I can't do it with my hand. Here we are. So see, I just rotated it. You can do this just with your finger. If I can just reach up, get an idea where these are, because there's screws up above you can spot. And you flip it like that. Now it's ready to go through this hole. There should be another one over here somewhere. So usually two of these. There he is, way in the back there. There he is, way up here. Okay, so I'm gonna reach. Here we are. Only flips one way. There it is, loose. Now we got to deal with some wires here. So the power wire's already out. Usually those are power wires. There's the signal wires. These are usually soldered. Yep, soldered. So the other end, hopefully, is plugged in. Holy smokes. It's quite a long reach. Yeah. So I'm just going to reach in there with my other hand, the one holding the camera. I'll pull those out, and then the record player should be able to lift out straight up. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. And so this mechanism is in a position where it's holding the arm up in the air here, which is actually holding it in place pretty good, so I won't worry about that. Let's see if we can just lift this guy right out. Here he comes. And the wires, good. Success. Okay, let's get him set up on the bench here. That's going to work out good. Not going to work out so good. This may not work out front to back here. Let's try that. That's going to work out perfectly. Good show. Okay. Looks like you could plug that right into an outlet. Just a regular outlet type plug. That's handy. A lot of these record players have special plugs specifically so you can plug them into an outlet. So I'm going to mechanically move this until this comes back and relaxes. The overarm is down, which will tell the record player there's no more records to listen to, so it will try to shut off. Let's see. First it's going to try to play it. I don't want the needle to drag. And we go over now. Oh, I can feel. So as I push the tone arm towards the center of the record, I can start to feel a little bit of resistance about 2/3 of the way over or so. The resistance, it feels like you're pushing something. It feels like you're pushing something across the table. It feels like this. Every time you go, the thing you're pushing is a little farther along. That's the velocity trigger gummed up. It's a gummed up velocity trigger. So this may not pick up at all. I'm going to put it right in here. It should pick up. Let's see. Yes, it's picked up. Okay, that's good. And it's going to drop it down there and turn off. Let's see if it turns off. Okay, so it's off. The platter is now free. This didn't shift back to the off position though. All just gummed up works, I think. So now with this down properly, I can lock it and be a little more secure. And the first stage here is to plug it in and try it again. But I can't imagine it's going to work. It didn't work in the... Okay, I'm going to switch it on with the dim bulb. It's off here anyway. There's a dim bulb here. I'm going to flip this on. We'll see what the dim bulb reports. So I can feel this vibrating. It's humming. The bulb didn't show anything. 120 volts, so we're not drawing much power at all. It's only like a volt or two dropping on the light. So this has not engaged, even though this is set on. Oh, let's move it over to reject and we'll see what it does. Why is this spinning so freely here? This really shouldn't be this free. Okay, here we go. Maybe when I put it on reject, it'll reject. Oh. Ew. Okay, some weird stuff going on under there. Off. Power off. That's enough of that. Clearly we're not going to get anywhere with this record player doing that. So the next step, take off the platter. Now often there's a center disc. Looks like this is a center disc. You can kind of lift that out of there. Maybe. There's a locking washer in here of some sort. I'm not quite sure what I'm seeing yet. So let's see what we can gently pry out of here. If anything. Yeah, this will come up. Oh, this is cracked right here. Ooh, there's a crack in it. Okay, I'm not exactly sure. This is just supposed to pop off. You know, it's cracked here and it's cracked here. And I happen to try to lift it between the cracks. Oh, don't break it. Kind of the end of this record player. Is this supposed to just pop up? Maybe not. So let's see if we can get this out. These are often removable, easily removable. Not in this one. Well, we haven't gotten anywhere. So let's study up on the ring here and we'll take a closer look at it. See what it amounts to. Some kind of a terrible knot here in my sorry, my camera wires. Okay, here we go. So this is not what these use. It's not what I'm used to seeing exactly. Sure looks like a split thing you would just oh, to remove, made in, to remove. Okay, there's instructions here. I never thought of that. To remove, press and turn clockwise. And there's an arrow there in case you're unsure of clockwise. Wow, I'm glad I did this because, you know, looking with my eyes, you'd really have to be hawkish to spot that there's words here. Wow, lucky me. Clockwise and clockwise is that way. Spin it clockwise and it just pops out, I think. Great Britain. Great Britain. Okay, clockwise. That's why it's got these finger spots here to push on. Did I get it around already? Is that it? Did I get there? Okay, counterclockwise. Nope. Clockwise. Oh, I did it. It moved. It suddenly snapped. Yeah, snapped. That's not a good word here. Snapped. There it is. Presto. So that's what's locking it in. Just one of these has a lock washer on it. The other two are just kind of directors in the slot. So this thing's held down in one spot. So you can pry away. Look, it's cracked right opposite. So you know someone's done this. And then they probably sold the record player after giving up. And underneath here is your standard lock washer. It was hidden from view. Let me get the other camera going again. Oh, whew, weird things on my computer. Anyway, okay. Something's happened in the wings, you know. So that's your standard E-clip. Easily popped off. Well, yeah, easily popped off and easily shot through your shop to parts unknown, never to be seen again. So you take these guys off, if you're not careful, they will run out of your shop. That's too big, way too big, way too big. Let's try this one. So just making sure it can't go anywhere with my fingers. That didn't fly off anyway. I put this in the very important place where it cannot be lost. Now hopefully this is just going to lift right off. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna turn it backwards in hopes of slipping it here, so it'll lift off. And it is slowly coming up. A little bit of trouble here because I'm on a oops. Put a little oil in there, it might loosen it up a bit more. You can put a little heat on it, but I don't think it's really needed. I'm just having a hard time. Now I have a grip tool I made for this kind of thing. Where's my grip tool? Can I find it? It's one of these things you make and then goodness knows where it goes. The grip tool. It's not going to be found. Ooey. Okay, let's just try some dumb things here. Just to give me a better lift on it. Crazy stuff. I don't think that's helping much. Ah, man, I'm breaking out in a sweat again. And we opened up our house at night and let all the humid air in, and then in the morning, the house is cool but very humid. And then we switched to air conditioning shortly and drive out the humidity. Oh my gosh. Here it comes. Here it comes. It's coming. Woo. Oh, don't go back down. And there it is. And was it worth it? Sure. The lubrication is sticky. It's not completely dry, but wow, is it ever close. Okay, now we get to look at the magic works here. So, not a lot of magic in here actually. Let's get a close-up look at it. So we're going to start with the drive wheel here. You know, I'm going to adjust the focus on this camera. It's just a little bit too close, so just bear with me for a moment here while I attend to that. I have to first bring up the camera dialog box on my computer, which I should always do ahead of time, but never do. Let's set it about like that. Okay. So we check a few things here. So this is the stopper. And this I think it's working kind of So the idea here is when the record player is not working, this bar is holding back the intermediate wheel from resting on this pillar, on the drive shaft of the motor. Now, like an idiot, I went and did all that and never, because I turned the record player around, I never really noticed if it was off or on. If the record player has sat for years with this thing pressed up against here in one spot, there'll be a divot, which is really hard to deal with. So we're just looking around the outer edge here to see if there is such a thing. That's why it's so important that these record players be in the off position. That's what brings in this pusher and holds the wheel off. If you leave the record player in something other than off, here I'm gonna move the on-off switch over here, or the start switch, whatever you want to call it, not on-off. See, first thing it does is it pulls that out of the way. Now, why didn't the wheel come back in? These wheels are normally tugged on by a spring. There's a spring. The spring can be one of those like a wound up spring around here, but normally it's just a regular spring yanking on it. I think it's missing. I think that's the main problem with this record player, is the spring is missing. So we might find it. It might be hanging underneath here somewhere. So as for the wheel itself, it's ready to turn free. Usually you don't want to stick any oil in there. And the height of this wheel is absolutely critical. The exact height of this wheel is what controls it, you know, for speed. So I'll change the speed setting and you'll watch it. It didn't go anywhere. So I'm moving the speed setting here. So I can't move it past this spot. Well, we got problems. Now that's an unusual one. It's just like banging into something here. Something going on here. Something going on here. No spring. Okay, but the real problems are always over here. That's where the real problems occur. So this is a pretty powerful little circular plate. It's got all kinds of functions, mechanical functions built into it. So let's just go over them very quickly without too much explanation. So this piece here is the piece I was talking about that I could feel when I moved the tone arm across. Now, these two pieces of metal, one on top of the other, should be floppy loose. They should just be floppy loose, but they are glued together here. I'm applying pressure. They're not even moving. Without this working properly, and maybe I'll go ahead and explain how this works. Without this working properly, the record player never knows when the end of the record comes. It's actually easier to explain if it's working right. Sometimes I call this a kicker. A kicker. Actually, the kicker is here. So the best way to explain this, the easiest way to explain this, if you think of a person standing standing on the ground outside of a merry-go-round, and well, you know what? You're on the merry-go-round. You're on the outside horse, and you're waiting for the brass ring. So the brass ring comes around. You reach for it, and you can't quite reach it. So next time around, you shift in the seat a little bit so you can reach a little bit further, and you try to reach it. It's not a very good explanation here. Actually, my merry-go-round explanation is not going to work because there's a problem with it. But let me carry on directly with this thing itself, how this really does work. So each time the platter goes around, this piece can be kicked back. There's a kicker. And as the tone arm slowly moves in towards the center of the record as you're playing the record, this thing slowly moves in. It only starts about 2/3 of the way through the record. And then the mechanical thing engages from the tone arm to this plate and starts pushing it a little bit. A little bit. Each time it pushes a little bit, like, let's say, like that. Something like that. When the record player comes around, I'm going to look under the bottom of the record player now. There's a kicker. There it is. That's the kicker. Right there. See, it's kind of a ramp kind of deal. Can you kind of see it there? Let me put some light on it here. There. It's not a simple. Oh, this is terrible how I'm showing this. It's a ramp. I call it a kicker, but maybe a ramp is a better name for it. The ramp comes sweeping around and pushes this back. If it fails to push this back, or if this thing has moved far enough in, it'll actually grab something and start the whole mechanism. It'll grab the rotating platter, kick this wheel forward, which I can't move right now because it's frozen. So this is really a dumb time to demonstrate all of this. But you know, when we get it all working, I'll show it again. Because it's interesting. It's worth understanding what is going on with this little device here. Velocity sensor is what it's called. So when you look at a record, on the inside of the record, when the program's finished, the needle is drawn in towards the center of the record rapidly. If you look at the track line moves rapidly. The normal record is, you know, they've got it, the tracks or the grooves squeezed together as much as they can get away with to get as much program material on the record. But when you get to that center area, suddenly the grooves spread way out and your tone arm moves quickly. The reason for that is to try to move this, because the tone arm's pushing this, to move it quickly. You move it quick enough. Next time the kicker comes around, it can't kick it away. Instead, it catches it. And when it catches it, the rotating platter starts turning this piece, which I'm telling you is totally frozen here. So we're going to pay attention to this now. That's somewhat of a terrible explanation. The main thing about this is there should be no oil on it. And that's probably why it looks the way it looks. It's stuck because somebody probably oiled it. And now it's glued. Yeah, think about it. It's two flat plates, right? Any little bit of stickiness in between these two plates, and these things are glued together. And you can see there's a lot of what looks like very fresh lubrication there. Looks fresh. Let me touch it. So it's kind of gum-like. It's gummy. It's really not oily. So it's old. Often this stuff is dried right up. Okay, so the solution here is to remove this whole piece and clean the whole thing up and not damage anything in the process. Okay, so I'm going to switch cameras here. We're going to do that. Let me see if I can just put my camera way up here. Holy smokes, it's in the sky. Bring it down. So there can be challenges to getting these off. There's a lot of lubrication around them and underneath them, and it can all turn into pretty much cement. So considering how hard it was to get the platter off, I think I'm probably going to have a big challenge with this one. So first we're going to take off the E. I like to call these C clips, but they're E clips. Hanging on to it so I don't lose it. Swing, there we are. Put it with the other one. Now, this should just lift right up. Fat chance on that, but let's see. So we got to be a little bit careful now at this point. So this center shaft is usually riveted or bolted to the deck. This is called the deck. And it's not intended to turn. It's supposed to sit there, and this turns around it, and there's lubrication in there. This looks like pot metal or something like that to me. It's really common for these things to get really bound up tight. And you come along, you got this beautiful grip here, you get your muscular hand on it, and you start doing this back and forth, which I'm not doing. Okay. And the next thing you know, you've loosened up this center post. The whole thing starts turning, but the center post is what's turning. That might actually work out, but that's really not good, because you think in the long run this post is going to start getting wobbly on the deck. You really don't want to loosen this post. So first warning, don't work this way too much unless you know for sure the center post is not turning. And I think the opposite is true on this. The center, because there's absolutely no play in it whatsoever. If I try to work this way, I'm going to loosen up the center post on its rivet or its nut or whatever it is. So what do you do about that? So you can put in lots of different oil and other solvents in there, but the space in here for that stuff to leak down through a fairly long sleeve is just about nothing. And also, the only way you can really get stuff to go in there is to be able to turn it. So you can't have the problem. You can't have the problem not there that you're trying to solve. You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird statement. So the best way to get these off is to heat them up. And the heat has to be a little bit strong. So first I'm going to try, I'm going to do it with the torch. So in fact, I think I know where the torch is. Let me go look for it. So you can use any way you want to heat something like this up, but if you use a hair blower or something like that, you'll end up heating up the whole plate instead of focusing the heat right in here, and then you got a hot plate you're trying to deal with. So I'm going to use this, and we're just going to blow it right on here, and hopefully the heat won't get out here so much that I can't handle it. Here we go. Can't really tell how hot this is getting. I want to put my hand on it. Okay. First attempt. Careful not to burn my hands. So it's turning now. So I'm trying to do the same thing I did with the plate. Yeah, it's coming off. Look at that. Easy as can be. Oh, well, almost as easy as can be. There we are. Now, turn it over. This track should be heavily lubricated. It's lubricated. A very important part too is that this is a roller that should turn. No, it's glued. And this is a separate part which should slide easily. It's stuck in here. And this is another part that should move easily. It's not bad. So this part right here, watch when I move the tone arm over. See, it's starting to move? That's what I was talking about earlier. And what's it doing? It's pushing on this tang under here. Okay, I don't know if you can see it there. A little tang there. Now that tang is part of this. So you have a plate and a plate. Okay? And you're pushing the lower plate, and the upper plate's just laying on top. And you're pushing it towards the kicker on here. On here, and each time every time the record goes around, then the tone arm moves a little further in. This plate moves a little further forward. This moves a little bit further forward, and the top plate gets kicked back. Kicked, move, kicked, move, kicked, move, kicked. But then, when the turntable, when the record's over and the tone arm gets into the fast groove part in the middle, this thing moves rapidly enough that instead of getting kicked back, it gets caught and dragged around. It triggers this. Triggers this for what? See how there's geared teeth all the way around? All the way around? No, they aren't. There's actually a gap right here. There's a gap. So these teeth, they engage with the teeth on here. And they'll drive this thing once around until the gap shows up, and then the drive disappears because there's no teeth engaged anymore, and it'll stop. It'll sit there like that, not able to turn. If you reached in with your hand, and you can't do that, but if you could, and turn it a bit, the first teeth would catch on here, and away she'd go for another round. A round to go, and come back and stop again. So how do you get this thing to jump forward just enough to get the teeth to engage? You use this crazy velocity sensor kicker system, records with central grooves that move rapidly, tone arms that push little mechanical things. That's what's going on in here. And the odd thing is, it all works as long as it's nicely lubricated and taken care of. If you have a record player and it kind of works, but the tone arm comes up, the whole record slows down when the tone arm tries to lift and move, you've got problems with lubrication in here and everywhere. This one's particularly bad. So the next thing we should do is take off the velocity sensor plates. screwdriver to do that. Where is he? Here he is. I'm getting sticky with all the sticky, what's left, the remnants of the sticky dried up lubrication. If a record player like this has not received maintenance, if a BSR record player has not received maintenance, it's going to be glued up like this. And the appearance at first is, wow, this just doesn't work at all. I'm going to lose this one. But with experience, you'll realize it's just lubrication. Okay, I'm going to get this one. There we go. I didn't lose it. Still got it. Now I got the same problem again. I have to take this off of this. There's a I don't know how they did it. There's a shaft here. These feel like they're loose on it. Sometimes these things are so stuck that the same thing will happen. If you start fooling with these, you'll weaken the shaft here. We don't want to do that. So if we want to get it off, now this one's coming right off, so it's not a problem. But these can be monsters, and again, heat is the way to get them off. Okay. Now these two plates, they should just be flopping loose. They should be just, I should be able to hang onto the tang and go like this and hear it snap back and forth. There should be no lubrication, but this is really stuck together. Don't lubricate these. There, I got it apart. Now it's moving. But this is going to stick again. So I'm going to have to clean this. This is tricky business. These plates, there's not much gap in them. I have to like soak this in alcohol and mess around with it for quite a while to get it really loosened up. But I have to get all the oil off of it for this to work properly. And to work properly for a long time. Oops, so that's going to go into an alcohol bath. Now, what about this guy? So the name of the game here is cleaning out the shaft and this. Clean it out so that there isn't dried up crystalline junk in there to grind, and then replace with new lubrication and free up this guy. So freeing up this one is really easy. You just take some of the, what I like to use is alcohol, because I think alcohol is a very safe stuff. You put a drop on there. Getting the alcohol to go down into it is a little tricky, but I'm going to try to turn it by hand. If it moves at all, the alcohol will start traveling down into the shaft. I'm not getting anywhere there with my fingers. So I'm going to put pliers on it. Very gently now. You know, I got a huge leverage with these things. Look at that. I got the huge leverage, so I don't want to be too muscular on this. I don't want to rough up the surface of this any. It's not that critical. I just want to move it a bit. Again, looking very carefully. I can't see a thing. Let's look more carefully with this. See how that does. Okay, I'm just going to fix the focus a little more. There. Now record players can work with these things stuck, but they work better if they roll. That's just glued as tight as can be. Let's just see if we can. So I'm looking very careful to make sure that, yeah, good, the center post is not turning. So there, now just turn it a little wee bit, and now the alcohol is in there doing its thing. We're going to want to try to get as much of that old lubrication out of there. Let's give it some more alcohol. Very good. So I like to turn these with my fingers because that's when you really know what you got. When you're putting tools onto things, tools are designed to turn you into Superman, right? And So that is loosening up nicely. Often these things kind of go whang and suddenly they're loose as can be. That's what this one's doing. Now, rather than use my fingers to clean it, I should use, well, I like to use toilet paper for stuff like this because it's so wonderfully absorbent. I'm just trying to take off anything we can take off without putting too many, don't put too many fibers on it. Hey, somebody's hair is in there. Yes, but I've had record players that I know were owned by teenage girls because there's huge amounts of hair inside. So you see hair has gotten right down around here. Isn't that something? How would hair get in there? You'd wonder. I mean, it's certainly not my hair. That's for sure. Hair from a long time ago. So this is kind of a fiddly thing you gotta kind of clean up. Looks like my fingers are peeling. That's not what's happening. And it's a matter of flushing it and with alcohol or whatever solvent. The WD-40 would work fine on this. And just get all this junk off of it. That's kind of the basic story with a record player all around, is doing this kind of thing. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the video at this point and get this guy cleaned up. And then we'll carry on with the other issues in here. Okay, so I just spent a couple of minutes alcohol turning it, and wiping it up. And toilet paper, not the best. The toilet paper ended up producing all kinds of fibers. So then I got paper towel here now. Still fibrous. See that bump there? You want to get rid of that kind of stuff off of here. Nice smooth surface. And it can look fine with your eyes, but put it under some, a magnifier like this camera, and you can see a lot more going on. So it's coming loose, but it's certainly not spinning completely free. It's pretty loose on there. Like there's a lot of play in it. Got a lot of old oil in it. Now, to some degree, the alcohol is waking up the old oil, but the alcohol is going to, it's volatile, it's going to leave, and then we're just going to be back to glue again. You can't just do this. It's still gummy in there, isn't it? Can I even get that out of there? So these record player, that's a stupid thing to clean the tool first. These record players are not likely to be played much at all. It might be. You never know. If somebody's going to own this again, this isn't mine. It's going to go somewhere. And they may play a lot of records, and this thing will be used regularly, like once a week, once every 2 weeks. That'll probably keep it alive for years. But if it sits for 6 months, you're right back into the same problem here. Problems. So that's why it's worth putting some decent oil on here. And what is decent oil? Motor oil. Not engine oil. Not engine oil. Oof, look at that. I just filled this thing full of fibers. Kind of counterproductive, Jim. Motor oil. Motor oil is a synthetic. You can get 3-in-1 oil. That's what most people have kicking around their houses. That's probably not synthetic. Synthetic oil should stay oily forever. I saw a hair go around under there. The other oils, they're not chemically stable in the long run. They're going to get oxidized, I guess. I don't know. Still squeezing junk out of there, but that's pretty good. Because when you see what happens to the rest of it, you'll realize this thing is going to stay oiled up. See how it's getting loose? That's how you want it. not worn out. It's meant to be a little loose like that. Its job, just to remind you, is to roll around inside this track. The harder it has doing that, the more chance that your record player is going to stall during changes when it goes into the changing mode, or just really really operates sluggishly. That's what I want to say. Okay, next thing, we just moved back a little bit. There's another one right here we got to take care of. This is the main shaft. This is the thing I heated up. So you can see it has a slot here. So I believe this is a slot intended to take that back. This is the slot that holds the clip. I was going to say something stupid. Luckily, I caught myself this time just before I said it. So we want to get the gunk out of there. This is a good place to hide some lubrication. Right in the slot a little bit. Sort of store a little bit of lubrication in there. Am I digging anything out? Yeah. Oh, I can't even. It's so sticky. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's just stuck on there. Yeah. Well, let's clean it up better. Well, let us do that. Just more alcohol. I want the shaft to be very, very clean. Covered with fibers, that's my aim. Okay, now, so it's good to test fit these things and just see how you're doing. How are we doing inside there? Oh, no, let's not even bother. I have to clean the inside of that shaft out. Sleeve and shaft. Obviously a Q-tip would be good for that. Oh my God, I don't have any Q-tips. What am I going to do? No Q-tips. How can I not have Q-tips? Q-tipless here. Oh, wasn't expecting that. Okay, gotta stop and go steal some from my wife, I guess. Okay, I'm back with a Q-tip. Alcohol. And away we go. Doesn't feel like there's a lot in here at all. So we're going to try fitting it on now like a dry fit. The trick to putting these guys on is that this thing can be in the way. So you take a note of where it is. It's on the outside. So you look for the outside and you fit it on that way. Happens to be where the gap is too. Look at that. So that's not going to get much better. That. So now we just need to lubricate this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to soak it with a bit of alcohol and leave it aside for a bit. Contaminate your alcohol, Jim. There we go. It's almost instantaneous actually. The cleaning. Okay, just carry on and clean it. I just want to get rid of whatever is left of whatever it is they had in there. And I wonder where it all goes. A lot of intelligence in the shape of this thing. This is what controls your tone arm lifting, swinging, going down. The lifting part is something else actually, not this. This is the swinging over part. But it operates in conjunction with the lifting part, obviously. So I think we need a little more in there. So again, if you use some kind of lubricant in here that is going to also dry out over time, then this isn't going to be as long a repair as it could be. If you use something that's more synthetic, it'll probably remain for a much longer time. Here we go. That's good enough for now. What's next? Next would be, oh yeah, we're going to do the velocity. Right, I said I had to soak this and then I didn't set it up. Okay, so I got to set this up to soak because it really has to be absolutely clean. And we'll move on to investigating why this thing doesn't seem to have any spring back. Okay, so I need a little tiny container here. The tiniest container I can find. Tiniest container I can. Ooh, that's too small. Okay, I'll sort this out. Now this isn't going to clean itself. It's going to have to be worked. Okay, I can sit there and continue its thing. What about the wheel? What about the wheel? And the wheel appears to have no spring. What about the lid? What about the lid? I don't know what he did with it. I'll put this over here. Oh, here's the lid. So to take a look at this, we're going to have to flip this over. So I'll get that there. I'll put this guy here. I need to lubricate that soon. I'm going to flip it right over, but I can't really set it down, I don't think. It'd be on this, and who knows what else it would do. But we just want to look at this mechanism. See if we can find a spring hanging. Ooh, that was close. Up and over. There we go. And we're going to get into, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, I have this plugged in. Now power was off, but really I should always pull the plug on stuff. So we got all kinds of things here that are supposed to move. See, this is supposed to move in here. It's stuck. This is quite a piece here. It's doing all kinds of mechanical interactions are going on with it. All of them have really bone dry lubrication. It's terrible. See all these little mechanisms in here. You can tell where things are supposed to move. There's springs trying to pull them back. They're not coming back. So there's a big spring right here. That's probably this back. A little spring here. Lots and lots of dried lubricant. Semi-dried lubrication there. That's correct. So the actual piece we were looking at, where is it? What were we looking at? We're looking way over here. We're wondering about this. So here's a spring. Is it just that it's just so gummed up? I've got oil on my fingers now. I have to be a little bit careful what I touch. So I'm moving the I don't see how this spring is supposed to push the wheel against the thing there. I don't see it. So if we want to change the speed, then this mechanism will kind of ramp up on this ramp thing here. You can kind of see. Let's see if I can move it. This is the speed control here. So this thing itself is gummed up. This piece, which is supposed to be sliding up and down quite freely, is all gummed up. Something terrible. It's terrible. It's terrible. This is a job for WD-40. Oh, look at that. So there's the springiness. There's nothing. This is a job for WD-40 all over the place. I've heard of people taking these things and just soaking them inside a tank of WD-40. I've heard of that. I don't have a tank. I do have some WD-40 here. Now, the place you do not want to get WD-40 is on that velocity sensor, but it's over here. Is there anything here you should not oil? Not in particular. I don't think so. Nothing too serious. And I'm not so much oiling it here. I'm trying to dissolve the old stuff. That's the name of the game here. Soak them up good. How am I going to get all this off? I don't know yet. So just spray around. Give everybody a chance. Anybody who looks like he needs a bit. That doesn't look very good, does it? Well, that's because this is stuck high. Like this ramp is supposed to be up, like that. Ooh, that sounded nice. And this piece is held in place here. Not really something when you think that, today all this stuff would be microprocessor controlled with stepping motors and all kinds of other stuff. Back in the day, it all had to be figured out with mechanics. Just like it's like an old carburetor. This is the overarm plunger here, which needs to be lubricated too. So we're going to give it some. This should be cleaned up too. Let me just get a little WD-40 on it for now. How's everything loosening up here? Now, I'm looking at this mechanism. I don't fully understand how every little part is working. Maybe there are people out there who do. But every one of these is a little bit different. And the guys who design these things, each design is a small step forward from the previous design. And if you do that 1,000 times, you end up with something that's really quite a miracle. But hard to recognize how it all works, because it's not so intuitive. I'm just waiting for things to kind of loosen up. Not everything can be moved, of course, because it's locked. Don't lubricate that. It's all feeling pretty good now. Now what have we not managed to lubricate here? So this guy here, we gotta finish off with this guy. Let's see if I can move him now. No, he's still not on the move. Come on. There he goes. Now he's moving. Okay, let's work this speed. Speed control all the way up. Come on. Get there. Nope, I don't want to go all the way up yet. So the last climbing the last hill is a little tough, but he gets there. So this may have fixed the inability of the intermediate wheel to swing around. Let's check it out. We'll flip this over now. Just soak up a little bit of excess water displacement number 40. And flip her over. Now what do we got? What do we got? What oh, this should be back here. So this piece may get reset during the record player's normal operation. And because it's abnormal, I've been doing stuff, it's in the wrong spot, but normally it will probably be pushed back here. This is moving freely. There's still no. Oh, there's the springy. Okay, so I was interpreting this wrong. So you can put a spring on here to pull this wheel straight into the drive surface of the platter. So another way is you can push it towards the platter and the motor. So you think of the platter as a surface. Give me a surface. Somebody give me a surface quickly. Give me a surface. The surface here, like it's in a little bit. Let's pull this back here. Okay. And so, oh, I got the kicker going the wrong way here. If I did that. Okay, now I understand. So, okay, correction on what I said earlier. A correction. So this guy should be like this. And when he kicks, it's kicked now. He kicks the wheel away from here. Because the platter's sitting here, right? The wheel can't come over any further. When the platter's off, it can, but when the platter's on, it can't come any further than about here. So that kicks it off here when it's in the stop position. When you put it in the play position, this moves back, and the spring pulls this forward, essentially jamming it between the outside of the platter and here. You kind of follow that? I mean, it's kind of a find the sweet spot on its own sort of thing. Now, how strong is this? Because this is from that spring. Not very strong. This is not very strong at all. So we'll just make a note of that. It may be strong enough. We'll make a note. Turn it off. So it'll probably be something like that. Now we're going to check how much, if this wheel still has a friction surface on it, I guess is what I would say. The surface of the wheel needs to have good friction, good traction, especially on the slowest speeds where you have a little tiny spindle here. It's hardly any surface contact with this wheel. So you want this thing to play on 16, and I don't know who the heck plays it on 16. Everything's got to be just right. Part of it is the surface there. I still think my fingers are a little bit greasy. So the first test I do is I take my fingernail, my short fingernail, and push it into the rubber and just feel it. These can be very, very hard. They can be very soft. It can be impossible to plunge your nail into it. They can have a hard case on the outside of them. The outside rubber, maybe because it's been worked by the machine, the outside rubber can become very, very hard. Just a very, very thin layer on it, and then the hardness makes it slip. So So now I'm dragging my finger along it and feeling the kind of friction. It's pretty good on my finger. So we're going to leave it alone and see if it works. If the record player slips, it could be slipping here, then we'll have to deal with this wheel. But for now, we don't know, so we're just going to leave it alone. Next thing would be to just relubricate this part. So usually there's a top washer. Come off. And then there's a set of ball bearings here in a cup. A cup of ball bearings. Pull that up. Think of it as a cup, then you'll know which way to put it back on later. Now this looks like really, like it's got a lot, it doesn't look like it, it has a lot of lubrication in it. Wow. Let's take a closer look at it. As soon as I figure out where I put the camera, here it is. Green lubrication. Usually these things are pretty dried up. This one's really full, but the lubrication, it's kind of gummy, you know. It's not. Now this is right at the bottom of a if you think about the gearing ratio here. So this is on the inside, and way out here the rim is being driven. It's very powerful gearing. So even with sticky stuff here, this will probably operate. What you'll notice though is when the record platter is free to turn, when the wheel here is not engaged and all that, and it's just free to turn, it won't turn well because there's so much drag in this. So this all has to be cleaned out. And new lubrication put in there. That's another project for me to do off camera, which I think I'm going to attend to right now. So you might be saying, how the heck do you get that stuff out of there? And the answer is you just dig it out. Dig it all out. Yep. Oh, there's another washer here. I didn't even see it. Okay, go over there. You just dig it out. Don't dig out the balls. Now the platter's weight is sitting on top of this. And if this were, let's say one of these balls, one of the ball bearings was squared up somehow, then it might make the record player operate a little like a train going down the tracks with a flum every time it goes around. But you wouldn't hear it like that. It would cause a very low-pitched bump in the sound of some sort. I'm not saying this really happens. I'm just giving it as an example so you can think about it. But you know, the needle is resting on the record, is resting on the platter, is resting on this. That's about as much as I can dig out there. There. So from here it's into the alcohol bath, I'd say. In you go. And now this can come out. So he's in the bath now, and this guy's coming out. And you can't really see what I'm doing, can you? I think you know though. I'm trying to shake the alcohol out of this. Because again, it's going to have a hard time drying in between the two plates. Guess you could heat it up a bit if you wanted to rush it. Don't weaken these. Don't pull them apart too much. Don't stick a screwdriver in there. Feels pretty good. Now it should just flop. Well, it's not, but that's because there's going to be, oh, it still feels like oil in there. There's going to be what? What were you going to say? It's not good enough. Because there's still liquid in there. The liquid itself is going to cause some adhesion there. You pour alcohol right through this thing. Yeah, I need an alcohol shooter. I think I have one. Don't I have an alcohol shooter? It says quickly looking. And no, I have a syringe here somewhere for this exact purpose. As usual, I can't find it, so we're just going to go without it and use alternate plan B. Pour more alcohol in here. So I'm just going to, I literally try to pour the alcohol between these plates. I really need to find that. I wonder where you know what, I just saw that. I just saw it. Okay. Right over top of the record player. Good move. Good. Oh, jeez. Way to go, man. Way to go. Well, that was about as effective as no. That is probably coming better. So I'm going to leave this out where it's going to dry. Then we'll find out if it does that. It's got to do that. That's the test. Hey, we can go on to this thing now. I did go on to this. This is ready. So we can mount this back on. No, we probably shouldn't. Not until we deal with this. Did I clean that? Little post. There's a little washer in here. Jim, come on. Now there's another washer. There's another washer. I'll find it eventually. There we go. What can I do now? Yeah, I know what I can do. I can look at the motor. Let's flip this over again. Ooh. Let's flip it over now. What about the motor? So the motor has bearings. The lower bearing's quite important in these motors because, again, this is flipped the other way around, and the weight of the spinning part is resting on this. And you might think, well, it's just a little, I mean, there's not much weight here, is there? And there isn't, but it's spinning fast and it goes for a long time. Another thing that happens to these motors is they're often on rubber mounts, and the rubber mounts can give out, and then when the rubber mounts give out, the motor tips. When the motor tips, it no longer engages the drive wheel or the intermediate wheel, and so you can't have that. So we're going to check them now. So there's rubber mounts. I never turned my lights on this morning. There's rubberized mounts right under here. And these ones are completely intact. This one looks a little crushed, but not bad. Not bad enough. Not bad enough to worry about, unless something goes wrong later down the road. And we could consider maybe motor mounts are causing a problem. But for now, no. That's actually good. That's lucky, because that can be a hassle. You have to replace them somehow. You got to wash them up to the right spot or do something with them. Because the position of the motor is absolutely critical. The angle, the height, everything is absolutely critical. So now we're going to check the lower bearing. So, ooh, that sounds. That doesn't sound good at all. What am I hearing here? So what's happened is the motor rotor has. What's happened is you're not on camera anymore. the motor rotor has dropped because gravity is in reverse right now, and it's simply interfering with other parts of the motor. When the motor's flipped around, the motor rotor will come up and it won't be doing that anymore. False concern. So we can take this off. This is meant to be taken off and maintained. This is what the not with that screwdriver. Let's try this one. This one should work well. And you say, "Oh my God, you're going to take a bearing off. You're never going to get it lined up again." Yeah, it'll line up fine. And these also have. Uh-oh, we got to be careful. So sometimes these screws are screws into something, and other times they have a nut. If they have a nut, sometimes it can be extremely difficult to get it back in there. This one has a nut. Rawr. Okay, so it's not as easy as I'd hoped. But we're into it now. Let's just carry on. I'm going to have to freeze the nut here with my finger. And then try not to lose it. I heard it fall. Okay, there's a washer. A lock washer. Where'd the nut go? Well, it's got to be down under here somewhere. That's all I got so far. Put that here, don't forget. Go on the other one. So the other one. So here's the other one. You see, it's going through this shaft and then down into the motor plate here. And down under, can we see under there? Oh, that's it right there. So this other one up through here. That can't be it. No, that's not it. Yeah, here it is, right here with that there. Okay, that's one screw out. Still haven't found the nut. And we'll go after the other one here. There it goes. There's a nut down here. So this is one of the actual rubberized mounting spots. I think the nut and everything's going to stay put. Just the screw is going to come out. The nut and all. So I drop the screw in. I'll knock the nut off where it's stuck, and it will disappear and go hide with its brother, which is still missing. Okay, now we've got the bottom bearing. I'll be doing this to my car very shortly. I've got 2 rear bearings that should come here very soon to replace on my my terrain. So that's kind of interesting. Let's take a look at what's going on with this motor part here. I find it interesting anyway. Look, they put numbers on it. You see the 2 drilled holes. So I believe what they've done is they've put this into a test jig of some sort, which has very much like balancing your wheels on your car. They put it in a test jig, and it's turned out that 2 and 3 need to be drilled. So they drill out 2 and 3, and that creates balance in this thing. Because of course, if this thing is out of balance and it's spinning fast, you're going to hear a hum. And the hum's going to go up through the platter, into the needle, and out of your speakers. And you are going to hear this, but it just, hopefully it's so low it doesn't bother you. Okay. So you can't normally pull these right out, nor should you. I shouldn't even do that. So now we need to look at the bearing. Where's the bearing? Where did I put it? Here it is. Here. So there's the sleeve that the motor shaft pops into. Look at the very top of the shaft. Now, that's the actual bearing surface. What are we really seeing there? It almost looks like there's a right at the point. It looks like almost like a ball in there, and it could be. I don't know. It's usually these things are just rounded off. That's got something a little extra going on there. So that goes up anyway into this sleeve. This is a self-adjusting bearing, and I'm going to try to show you what that means. Get a little screwdriver here. This kind will do. So you just stick it in there, and then you try to move it. Try to move the bearing. There it goes. Self-adjusting bearing. That's what that is. So this also indicates the lubrication's not terrible because this is not stuck much, but it's stiff as I rotate it. Okay, lubrication. So we need to use synthetic grease. If you're going to use grease, use synthetic grease. And we're going to toss a little bit of grease in there. I'm going to use it with my grease tossing tool. Now this bearing is not supposed to spin. This is spinning inside this bearing housing. Just doesn't take much. A little dab will do ya. Put it back on. Can you see that there are sleeve extensions here, or little extensions where the screws go through? They're going to set in the holes, and that's going to position this very exactly. That's why you can take this off and not worry about it. Can't put it back on wrong. Can you? Can you put it on wrong? If you can, I'm pretty sure to demonstrate it right now. Put these back in. Wait a minute. This one I can put in because the don't push hard now. You knock the nut off, Jim. Okay, so that went nice. This one, I gotta find the nut. Where's the nut? I got the washer. Where did the nut go? Where could it go? It can't really go anywhere. Well, this is a little disappointing. It's a tiny little nut. Could it have gotten trapped somewhere up here? Could that be it falling off right there? What did I just drop? That's the screw coming out, I think. No? Okay, what was that? Something came falling out of here. Was it this? I don't think it was that. What was it? Guess what I just found? Voila. Great. Okay. Block washer. Now I got to get this up under here somehow. This is the tricky part. This is the very tricky part. Can I get my finger right in here? Whew. What are the chances I can balance this on the end of my finger and stick it up there? Chances are nil. Absolutely nil. There's no chance of it. Stick it up this way. Can I hold this in there? Oh my god. Let's see, I can change the speed and lift that. Does that help? Not particularly. My finger up this way. I can kind of get there. Flip the whole thing over and try to set this down on the screw. I think that's the only way to do it. The screw will come out. So I keep my finger here, get the camera there. Finger here, camera there. Flip it over and just hang on to it for now. So this is going to be ugly. This will be ugly. It's an ugly operation. Okay, hold on to it. Or I can see it. Okay, so I can probably get the washer on fairly easily. Let's try this. I can't use my other hand now. Oh boy. Okay, don't drop it. I just missed it. Uh-oh. Let's making a run for it. Okay, I got it. Okay, washer on. Now I've got to put the nut in there. Yeah, I'm just trying to get a camera shot. I don't think I'm going to get a camera shot here. This morning I listened to a very disturbing story, BBC story about a man in his he was 25, had become a electrical worker on the power system in Britain and had a terrible accident. I won't go into the details of it, but the result was he lost both his arms from the shoulders down. No arms. And 20 years have gone by. He's made a life, and the story was about getting transplanted arms. Now, I don't think the surgery's been done. I think it's right on. He's just waiting now for the right donor to come and get new arms. So he was talking about his life without arms. Oh boy, you think we got tough times? Man. And yet he's positive and found a wife. I guess he has a wonderful personality that compensates for not having any arms. Boy, this is really tough what I'm trying to do here. I make things a little easier if I took this wheel off, but I'm so close to success here. Well, I'm not anymore. the nut fell. Okay, we're gonna have to take off this wheel. Gotta go. Oh my gosh, look what you've been looking at. Okay, I'm going to drop that screw out. I'm just going to have to let it fall out. Maybe the locking washer will stay put. This isn't the most stable arrangement here, but it's okay. I'll take this off. I got nice oily hands here. I don't want to touch it. A smaller screwdriver. Okay, that's off. Put it in the tray not to be lost. Now there's washers on these things. There's washers above and washers below, and sometimes those washers are used to finely maneuver the position of the intermediate wheel. So whatever way they are, they got to go the same way when you put it back together. Come on up. I'm touching this wheel all over the place now. Son of a gun. Shame on me. So there's the other washer there. I can get down there pretty good now. Okay, screw back up and don't knock the locking washer out. Okay, locking washer stayed in place. Where'd the nut go? There it is, right here. Okay, so I think I can just grab it. You know what? I'm going to use the better gripping pliers to do this. Okay, so we're going to grab it, place it right on top. What am I going to do now? Well, I'm going to try to turn the screw by hand so it catches. Nope. Nut is all off angle here. Sometimes these nuts have a top and a bottom. Okay, and you go turning. Am I turning it? I believe I did it. Just barely. Let me get my other pliers here. I'm going to put a screwdriver into the screw head here. Come up underneath. Okay. Screwdriver's in. Grab the nut and try to turn the screwdriver with one hand and turn it the right way, and be sure to turn it the right way. Well, that didn't go very well. That did not go very well, so we'll try the opposite. Freeze the nut. Now this is smarter. And turn the screw. Good. Okay, that's good. It's not going to fall apart. I'm going to do something with this wheel, so I'm going to set it over here. Flip this over now, because nothing can fall apart. See that? Nothing can fall apart. Tighten up this screw. It's this one here. I want this to be fairly tight. Let me get a bigger screwdriver. Really clamp it down. I'm sure that will be fine. Good. That's the end of the motor. You can't do anything really. We can do a little bit about the top bushing, but it's not nearly as important as the bottom. Where are we at now? So once again, WD-40 is still working over here, loosening up everything. I'm just trying to remove the old lubrication. The thin film of WD-40 will do the trick here while I'm working in the shop. But eventually you got to put something better than WD-40 on it. That's about as clean as I can get it for now. Good. Okay, where are we at on this? We're about ready to give this guy a test. No, I have to put the velocity sensor back together and all that stuff. Okay, back over this way. I left it here hoping it would dry, but it probably isn't dry yet. Feels pretty good. This should just flop on its own weight, but it doesn't. Now let me pull it out so it's I don't know. It feels to me like there's still stuff in there. Okay, going back into the bath. Okay, let's take out the this guy here. And the washer. Well, there's another washer that I've lost track of here. So right on the bottom here is a piece of rubber, like a rubber washer. I'm not sure you can remove that. It's pretty hard. I don't think there's anything you can do about it, but that's another piece of shock absorbance that try to stop platter rumble. That's the limiting factor with these record players, is the rumble. A very low pitched rumble on a high fidelity stereo, you're going to hear it. And that's why this stereo behind me can't be that high fidelity. Boy, this didn't really clean up all that well. It's still sticky. Okay, so we're going to give it a little WD-40 treatment here. WD-40 is a combination of solvents and oils. The solvents evaporate, so you can make use of the solvent aspect of WD-40. It's not just a simple lubricant. And I think the formula is still secret. There's probably nothing really special about it, frankly. It's marketing, you know. You know, a lot that's wrong in this world is from people who understand marketing. Shame on those people. Okay, now we're going to throw in a little lubrication here. Once again, using the synthetic grease. Try not to get it on your fingers. Remember I said this was like a cup, so you remember which way to put it. Put it like you would a cup. And now I must find the other washer. So I'm going to stop, clean up myself, and then find that washer. Stick it on there. You never know what the challenges are going to be. So the top washer for that thing, I still haven't found it, but I'll show you what I did find. If I just look down here where my feet are, come down here, there's a green ring in my rug. That must be where the washer was. Oh, for crying out loud. That means I have stepped on it, it's stuck to the bottom of my slipper, and I have tracked it somewhere into my house. So I have to go hunt the house for this washer. Oh, really? I've been running around my house looking for that washer. I finally gave up, sat and watching a little bit of TV, and then I suddenly thought, it's stuck to my slippers. Maybe it's still stuck. Maybe it's still stuck to my slipper. There it is. Oh my gosh. Okay, I found it. See, you never know where the challenges are going to come from. Okay, so let's just carry on here. I gotta clean this guy up. Oh. Okay. Oh my gosh. gotta laugh at the funny things that happen in your life. When things go wrong, if you can figure out how to laugh at them, you're way better off. Who needs to be adding to their upsettedness these days? Nobody. So I try to do these repair work, this stuff, to lighten my day, not make it into a disaster. Talk about hair and string and stuff. That all got around here. Later today, my wife will ask me, Jim, have you noticed green circles on our floor here and there? No, I don't know anything about that. No. It's probably the cats. Yeah. Would I blame this stuff on my cats? Am I that callous? Yeah. Beautifully cleaned up. Lovely. Okay. This guy's going down on top. And that's ready to receive the platter. Perfect. Now I think we can move on to sticking this back on. No, we can't. We have to put we should put the velocity sensor back together before doing that. So I got the motor. How stiff is the motor here? Oh, that was interesting. I first spun the motor shaft. It was very stiff. It was probably settling into the adjusting bearing. Now it's nice. So I'm spinning it and it keeps spinning. Good. Now there is the potential to drop a little bit of oil in there. Why don't I do that? So even though this says Weller on it, this has got a very light oil in it. And I'm going to stick it right into the bearing here and just put a little bit. If I can get any out of it. There we go. That's all it takes. Tiny amount. Good. Okay, so I know what we can do. We can study this wheel now because it's out here. I did clean my fingers up. So I'm going to do that nail test. You know, this nail test will only work if you've done a lot of these and you have some notion as to what to expect. Let's take a closer look at this. Let me just put the top on the alcohol before you know what will happen in here. I might even put this under the microscope and take a look at it, but let's start with the close-up camera. So what I'm looking for are cracks. You see the surface, how it's right, it's hard for me to point out, right where the light, you see where the light is reflecting off it, that's where I'm looking. Can you see that? The surface has got very fine cracks on it. Sometimes these the contact surface we're looking at can get buffed up and be very shiny. This one's so-so, bit of shine on it. And sometimes you can actually look right at the edge and see that the outside edge doesn't look the same as the rest of it. You kind of get that impression up here a little bit. It's a little bit grayer than the rest of the black. That's not normally what I'm usually looking for is like a shell that's formed on it. A shell of hardness. I guess that's what shells are. So what I'm wondering is, should I grind this down? Is it worth grinding down? Ooh, look at that surface there. That's probably from my finger or something. Yep. There are a few cracks. Look at that spot. What's that? Is that a divot? Doesn't appear to be the case. What's this? What is that? What is that? Oh my gosh. I've never seen anything quite like that. Almost looks like right from day one that might have been wrecked like that. Oh, that was a smart move. Nothing like spread a little, get an oily paper towel and clean it up. That's a good move. Clearly, you don't want oil on the surface of this. Where'd that spot go? Where'd the spot go? On the other side? No. Yeah, there's a number on it. H329. Never noticed a number on one of these. So these are quite distinct from record player to record player. Interestingly enough, the outside diameter doesn't actually matter that much. A little bit of change in the outside diameter of these things does not change the speed of the record player. Now let's put it on and test it against the we'll test it against the shaft. That's ultimately the real test. Does it go this way or that way? It goes this way. Now, how do you know? Wait a minute. How do you know if it's getting enough traction? Very good question. Well, you play the record player and it doesn't work. That's one way. So I'm going to pull this in on here. Now you can see some of the flexibility in it. It's not too bad, eh? Nice and rubbery. I'm going to pull this in and then try to turn it. It sounds like a stupid thing to do. So what I'm getting is an impression of how much traction there is. So I'm putting a little more pressure on it. It's actually becoming quite hard. Well, that's interesting. It didn't turn the motor at first. Oh, well, that's not going to help. I don't want the motor to turn. I want the motor to skid. Now, my impression is this one's pretty good. I think we're just going to leave it alone for now, unless there's more indications it needs to be dealt with. So I'm going to put the top clamp back on. Clip, clamp. This is where you lose these things, putting them back on. I have a technique, it's high risk of losing it. Let me just put my pliers here. So what I do is I very carefully center my pliers up on the shaft and on the back of it. Very carefully. I don't put any pressure on until I'm really sure what I got here. Everything lined up nicely. No, there. No, there. No, there. There. Then I just apply pressure once I think it's lined up nice. There we go. If you do that a little wrong, swing! Get quiet and listen and see if you can hear where it lands. Good. Step by step. Okay, let's take a look again at the velocity sensor. I've just been in the resort here, in the swimming pool of the resort. Now that sounds nice. That sounds really nice. Of course, it's soaking with this stuff. That sounds great, in fact. That's exactly what you want it to sound like. Now, will it sound like that when it's all dried up? I don't really know. So I'm going to have to let this thing thoroughly dry now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to not pry, I'm going to poke, I'm going to try to make sure that there's a gap there, not with this. I need a very, very fine screwdriver here. Just to keep them gapped so they can dry. I'm going to let that go for quite a while, so I'm going to stop and go outside and see what's happening outside. Say hi to my cats and do stuff like that. And then we'll carry on. Okay, I think I'm ready to put the drive wheel back together. This guy is dried up. Look at that. Perfect. Put him on first. Okay, the tang goes down through the hole here. Like that. It's not so loose on this. Let's just take it off again. Maybe I didn't clean this quite well enough. Okay. Put an alcohol here. Yeah, some stuff came off. Then, any chance I can put this through there? I don't think so. So this has been soaked quite a bit in alcohol. You would think it would be pretty clean in there. The thing is, we don't want to put any lubrication on this guy. Where'd the click go? It should make a nice click like that. That's better. Probably a little bit of alcohol in between it again. Yeah, I got some more alcohol. So I'm going to let it go through another drying session now. Okay, a few minutes. Okay, lots of time went by. Let's see. This should be dry again. Yeah, perfect. That's exactly the way it should be. Okay, we'll put it together here. No grease in there yet. It's probably a good idea. Come on. Just exactly what it should do. Now we'll snap on the washer, or the E-clamp rather. And we'll perform the high-risk maneuver. There we go. It's not so high for me because I have spare. I have a whole bunch of these E-clamps, so I probably have one. I'd rather not lose this. Line it up just perfect. There we are. Good. Grease this guy up. Whoa. Okay, don't get carried away doing this. You don't want it so much, it's everywhere. That's probably lots right there. Okay, now I think I'm going to smear it out a bit. It's going to smear out on its own, of course, but very good. Just for fun, we'll throw a little on top of this. Now, I'm going to take a little of this. Grease or oil? We'll put some grease in here. Okay. Sometimes you want to put grease, sometimes you want to put oil. Exactly when you want to do either, I don't know. Okay, we'll stick this on here. Now, we need a little trick to make this settle down. I have to push that wheel in just a wee bit. There we go. She's in. Release this. put a dab of lubrication on there. Where did I put that? Here it is. Just a little dab. Where did I say I was? Gonna put some here. I almost missed this. Still got lots to put on underneath yet. So we haven't put the grease on. Oh right on the surface of this. Just want to put a little dab there. Okay. And put the platter back on. Now I haven't locked the, so here's another thing. Let's take this up. We did this on here. Or did I? So I want this push, so I want this off. Oops, it missed. It misses because the platter's not there to position the wheel. That's how we want this to go on again. Down you go. Kind of stuck on something there. It's nice now. Remember before it wouldn't turn like that. Look at that. That's because it's completely disengaged from everything else. But that proves it itself is operating fine. So what we're going to do is, without turning it on, I have this released. I'm going to put this over here on manual. Now I'm going to be the motor. So I can feel what's going to happen here. Now I'm going to hit the button. Okay, so I can feel how much pressure there is. There's quite a bit there. Whoop, just there. Ooh, really stuck right here. Okay. The thing is, we go around a couple of times like this and it'll probably be okay. Okay, don't let the needle touch. Because the lever here didn't get hit by a big record, the tone arm came in for the 10-inch record. Okay, now it's playing the record. Platter should be free. Shouldn't have anything affecting it. Good. Now we'll pretend we're going in. I cannot feel. Yeah, you know what? I can feel it right there. Oh, this just jammed up. I triggered it. I triggered it already. That's what happened there. So we'll have to run it with the motor to really find out. It's really tough right here. Now, when it's spinning, there's momentum in the platter, so the momentum can carry it past the sticking points in the mechanism. Now, because the overarm is up in the air, a record player never receives a message that there's no records. If I put it back here, where now it's settled down to its lowest point, it can only get here if there's no records on this. So it should think now. Is it in the middle of something? There we are. Yeah. Okay, so now it's playing the record. Now we're coming around to the end. Okay, it's picking up. It's smoother already. Now it should shut off. Come on. Boom! Hiya! Thumbs up. She passed the initial manual test. We'll now give it the power test. Power to it here. This is off. We're on 45. That's okay. Dim bulb power on. Dim bulb just because I'm a scaredy cat. Okay, we don't have a record to drop, so I'm going to lift this up, because if this is down here, it'll think there's no record to play, and it'll come up and just go back down again. We don't want that. We want it to actually come over as if there's a record there. First of all, does the platter even turn? Oh yeah, look at that. Now I'll do a traction test with my finger, just pushing on the platter. Oh, that's great. I mean, I'm driving my finger into it. Oh, that's excellent. So we didn't fiddle around with that intermediate wheel. Good thing, because there's no need. Bit of a sound coming up there from it. Okay, so now we're going to initiate the automatic system. I'll catch it. It's at 45. That's a little fast. Let's slow it down to 33. Excellent. I don't like that sound coming out of it. Here we go. Okay. Ooh, what's that weird thing there? Something a little strange happened there. Okay, but the platter did not slow or stall or anything. Now we'll go over and pretend we're done. Oops, so it thinks, what was that little hop there? What's with the hop? Okay, so we're now going to tell it that there's a 12-inch record on here. Go over, I'm watching this, drop the record. I told it it's 12 inches, it's here, what's it doing? Okay, so that hopping thing is some kind of weird problem. Otherwise, the mechanism's running good, the drive is good, there's no slippage, it's not making too many funny sounds, there's a bit of a whir coming out of the motor though. And maybe that's fairly normal. Off. So why do they call it reject? I wondered this all my life, but I realized a little while ago why. See, in the earlier days of records, just like 45s, in the early days of the 78s, there was one song on a side. So you play a song and you got to get up and change the record. Play a song, get up, change the record. What an annoyance. So somebody came up with this contraption where you can stack, say, 8 records on it. Something like that. It's 8 records, it's 8 songs. That's the idea. You put it on and you start playing the songs. And along comes song number 4 and somebody says, I don't like that song. Oh, okay, I'll reject it. So that's how you reject the song. And someone's at my door again. Okay, everything seems to be working good, so I'm going to put this clip back on. Once again, using the danger technique. Hey, this thing's running. Hey, why don't you turn it off here? How can it be running? How can it be running? This is on the off position. Ooh. Okay, so it's probably the lever running, because I haven't done the lubrication underneath yet, really. Let's do that. Power off, power off, power off. Plug out, just for a separation in the circuit for safety. Let's flip it over. Anything going to fall off here? I don't think so. Over you go. Everything on the top is done. Now it's just a matter of a few goodies down here. Okay. With a little more light. Good. Good for me. So this is the mechanism right at the end here which causes the record dropping part in the spindle to move, and that can be a lubrication issue right in there. And I think I'm going to hit it with a bit of this. First, let's see what I can get out of there. Oops. Seems pretty good, you know. I'm going to leave it. Okay. I'll just kind of work around this way. Let's start with the levers. These levers. Okay, so this has still got a lot of WD-40 on it. My favorite stuff. So here there's metal plates sliding against the deck. Those are the kinds of things that need a little bit of lubrication. Just like that. Okay, these guys need a little bit. This thing got a lot of WD-40 on here, didn't I? That last one's a tough one. Sometimes it's not wise to operate the speed mechanism when the motor's not running, because the intermediate wheel has a hard time climbing up and down the steps. If the motor's spinning, then it'll kind of, you know, be worked. It'll work its way up and down the steps on the motor shaft. But if the motor's not turning, then moving this can cause the intermediate wheel to just catch on the edge, and that's probably what's happening here. So there's not much need to change the speed when it's not turning, right? Why would you do that? So here we are. All these rampy things. This needs a fair bit of lubrication because it's going to mostly miss. Okay, let's send her up and down a little bit. That's beautiful. Okay, let's try the other lever now. So the other lever is the stop, go, reject lever. Here we are. Okay, same deal here in that it's a plate moving against the deck. It's not very good. I need to get rid of the old stuff here. Okay, some of the magic stuff. Beautiful. Okay, now I see a lever moving here. This is the pusher. Spring loaded. It's moving really well. Looks like it's a little, oh, son of a gun. This looks like it's a little bunged up here. But lots of leverage, eh? So if it's stuck a bit, I mean, you wouldn't feel it with a lever that long. Okay, let's get that off there. Okay, and well, look for where it's rubbing. So this one's pretty airborne actually. This one is tight down on it right in here. Here it's kind of loose, you know, right in here. So that's where we'll put some lubricant in there. Going very far. That'll probably do the trick. What about right out here? No, it's just not in, you know, it's not in driven contact with the surface. Good, that's done. Now this is the push lever that we could see from above that pushes on the, that is pushed by the tone arm as it travels across the record. It's pushed further and further along, and it's pushing the velocity sensor slowly at first and then quickly in the end. As I've explained a few times, now this guy, you don't want him gummed up. It feels gummed up. I think it's gummed up in here. You don't want to put any lubrication anywhere up in here. It looks to be clean and clear. I think it's bunging up just in this spot where you would put lubrication. So we're going to give this a little dousing. Or would that be dousing? I think it's a dousing. I think dousing is that silly, put some sticks in your hand and think you can find water. I've had so many people try to convince me they can do that. I was a cable locator. Yeah, I had lots of jobs at the power company I worked at. For about 1.5 years, I was a cable locator. You know, call before you dig guy. And one of the locators working for, I think, the telephone company or maybe the gas company, used those stupid copper rods in his hand and swore that he could find the cable. Bullshit. And you know, this is important. There's money and some safety concerns, certainly with power cables. You don't want people digging into 13,000 volt cables. Think I'm going to pull out 2 copper rods and go like this? Heck no. So we had a locate off. We had a battle. It's called, our job was called locating. That's what the common term we use. We had a battle. We all went down to this field that we knew of. It's outside of the sewer plant in Toronto. It's a big field, probably where they eventually will expand the sewer plant someday. And the power cables go across this field, and there's no way to know where they are, you know, unless you work for the power company like me. I had some diagrams on that. We went out there, and he got out his copper rods, and off he went. And I watched everything with very doubtful eyes, and as far as I'm concerned, I saw a guy who didn't have a clue where that cable was. And then I went out with a locator, just do the usual thing, locate where the cable is, and I said, well, see, it's over here. He goes, yeah, that's where I found it. Bullshit. And that's why you can't defeat people like that. Even in the face of being wrong, they're going to hang on to their crazy belief that there's some magic in sticks or copper rods. But there are all kinds of people who believe that stuff. So this one, putting grease here may not be a good idea. See how loose this is? This is meant to be just kind of metal on metal. I think a better move is just to clean this up and leave it like that. I think that's better. Now we're getting to this great big plate here. So if I were to turn the turntable and make the mechanism go, you would see that this whole plate would shift until this spot was over here. And we can't get there right now. Well, that's where it's heading. And with it, it's dragging all kinds of mechanics down here. There's different things. Fiddling around with these mechanical parts, you can occasionally push them into a position they're never supposed to be in, and then they get jammed up. And far be it from anybody knowing exactly when that's going to happen. So I'm just looking at some interesting clicks coming out of it. Of course, it won't do it now. So the platter, driven by the motor, has to push against this. This is a pretty toughie to push this, but it has to do it. You know, maybe that's as far as this plate travels. And frankly, I'm just not sure. Okay, no problem though. Lubrication is ready here. So on this kind of thing where it's metal sliding on metal, I like to use a little bit of grease. The grease can be a little bit sticky. Won't be any problem there. So these kinds of parts here, see, now maybe that's an unusual position. It's not supposed to be in. I don't really know. I'm going to WD-40 this guy some more here. I can see the old lubricant on it. Call before you dig. Right in downtown Toronto. Going right out on main city streets, running out, painting marks on the road. I really enjoyed that job. Once I got into it, took about 6 months to really get into it. And then, you know, I took the cable locator, and you know, I received training, and I worked with a guy who knew what he was doing for a couple of weeks, and then I was set out on my own. But to make myself even more comfortable with it, I knew where a field was with abandoned railway tracks in it, and just grown over with grass. And I went there. And cable locating is done with a transmitter receiver. You transmit a signal, usually around 80 kilohertz, into the ground. And that signal, if there's a pipe down there or a cable, the signal will get on that and then travel. And then you have a receiver with antennas arranged in it in such a way that you can really tell where you are. You carry this receiver, and I used to carry it with 2 hands. That's not what they look like anymore, but that's how it was then. So I went to this field railway track, I put the transmitter on the railway track, and then I just practiced locating. I could see the track, so I could see as I passed the locator over, because you know when you're a cable locator you don't see the stuff you're locating. You just have to have some faith that it's actually working right. So and that's how I got faith, by doing that kind of thing. And also any opportunity I got where I did a cable locate and then they did an excavation, and if I returned a day or two later because they needed more locating information, I could look in the excavation and see where the cable really did show up, and then I could confirm that the locating actually worked. It did work. It worked perfectly fine. But you know, I didn't like the mystery part of it. When I asked my fellow locators, so how's these machines work, they had no clue. They really didn't. I mean, they knew there was a radio transmission, but they just weren't into it. They weren't as geeky as me. I found out the power company was full of people who really didn't care much of electricity. You know, to me, electricity is a piece of the universe we have no business monkeying with, yet look at all the stuff we've done with it. It's just fantastic. Electricity, you know, I am not worthy. I feel like I'm attached to a long history of people who have worked with electricity, you know, all that kind of stuff, especially working in an old power company, seeing the old stuff still there. And it wasn't long before I realized most of the people really didn't care about any of that stuff in the power company. Most surprisingly, engineers. Now this I can't move this plate because it's actually attached to the tone arm, and the tone arm is locked. So if I unlock the tone arm, then I will move it. So I'm feeling, now you can really see how it works, okay? So this plate is attached to the tone arm, which I'm swinging back and forth. As I swing it towards the end of the record, you see how this is going to hit this. Now it's moving this, as you can imagine, the record is slowly playing, the tone arm is slowly moving. It's moving this, and this is pushing the velocity sensor on the other side, pushing it further and further towards the kicker that's going around in the middle here. Finally, it'll push it far enough. I've actually reached the end of the road here in some way. There's something wrong here. So the reason I'm saying that is I'm moving the tone arm, and this plate is slipping on it. Now, a lot of these things are made to do this so that you can't wreck the machine from above by grabbing the tone arm and forcing it somewhere where it's not supposed to go. Which may be what I'm seeing here. So I got the tone arm all the way over here. And I can force it farther. Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that. That could just be, I don't know. It could just be, I don't know. I don't like that. It seems to be getting looser and looser. Ay, yikes. So you really don't want to monkey with the tone arm part too much. Let's just leave it the way it is. Maybe that's normal, maybe not. I don't know. Go ahead, I want to mop up in here a little bit. It all seems to work pretty loose, nicely. What was it that was sticking? What was it? There was something that was sticking. Oh yeah, I couldn't ramp this up onto the top speed. But well, so that's okay. I don't think that's really a problem. Over we go. Oops, what was that? It's just the plug falling. Put this guy back in. Put them like that. And I'm going to get all the way to playing a record. Let's see. Let's see if we can do that. So this is back on. I've got the clamps. All clamps are on. Plugged it in prematurely, but there's no power in the outlet. Now we're going to drop this guy in. Here. Right here. Make sure that's in the right spot. Okay, away we go. Down you go. There it is. This time we're going to give it a record. But we're not going to hear the record. Try Chicago. Chicago. Let's try Chicago. Who and what exactly is that? Frederick Remington. I can say that's the guy who invented the Remington rifle. It says Remington. Why would they put a picture of him on the record? I don't know. What's the name of the songs here? Happy Man. I can't read them. They're really poorly done. You can't really read them. Okay, never mind. We don't need to know what it is, or we're not even going to hear it. On you go. Okay. Are we ready? We have no power. Power on. Everything looks good. Will this thing work? First, put it on 33, so it's a little slower. Oh, yeah. Got to get the motor running before I put it on 78. Let's try right now. Maybe it's 16. It would. Yeah, 16 is the one where. Oh, whenever where. Okay, that could just be because it's right side up now. But see how nice that's working? Isn't that beautiful? Just lubrication and cleaning. So as I turn this on, you probably didn't notice this, but as soon as the motor started, there was a counteraction in the whole thing. The motor is spinning. Drop that record. We haven't even dealt with the cartridge yet. I think that will probably be tomorrow when we actually deal with the sound. Let's see. Here we go. Drop that record. Wham! Whee! What's that? Okay. Okay, and it missed. That's okay. We'll put it on. Is the needle still in the right spot? Yeah, let's put it on there. Okay, you need a little more. We need a little amplifier going here. Because we should listen to it. We'll find out if the cartridge works, at least. So, now I've got to plug this guy into my sound system here that you're listening to me through. I think I'm going to stop the video and get that sorted out. So I got to find some cords and stuff to do that. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to feed the signal from the record player right into my audio system here that you are listening to me through. This ridiculously long cord here. So I have a mixer. It feeds into a bigger mixer right back here. This is my like a mini shop top or bench top mixer, I guess you could call it. So we're gonna plug them into. The thing about this is gonna, like I say, is you're not gonna hear this through a speaker, and you're gonna hear it right through this. How's this gonna work out? I don't know. We don't know for sure that that's a ceramic cartridge. Yes, we do. I'm sure it's a ceramic cartridge. If you didn't use a ceramic cartridge in here, this thing wouldn't produce enough voltage. The amplifier is looking for about a volt from the cartridge. You're not going to get that from a higher quality magnetic cartridge. I'll just put this here like this. Okay, now for me to hear it, because I don't listen to the actual sound being captured here normally, because it's really difficult. So I'm going to put on these headphones and I will hear what you're hearing. Hello, hello. Hey, there I am. We're almost ready now. So the volume controls are these two guys. Let's turn them up and see what kind of hum we get. Wait a minute, I gotta turn these up. There we are. So there's a bit of a hum. And that's probably because the ground wire is not. That's the ground wire there. So I mean, if I tied this back, then that little hum would disappear. But I'm not going to worry about that. The question is, can we hear this? I'm going to touch the needle here to get a volume check. It's pretty loud. Cut them back. Like that. Now, I'm playing with wildfire here when it comes to getting a copyright hit. But one of the tricks I can use is to run the record at the wrong speed. And I'm pretty sure their algorithm won't catch it. It's going to sound stupid though. So we'll play a little bit at the right speed just to make sure it sounds right. I need to lift this up, flip it over here. Now I'm not going to drop the record, so I'm going to fake it like this, so it thinks I'm dropping a record and it thinks it's a big one. And there we go. Did it work? Oh, what's that? What's that? I can't let any more than 15 seconds of any piece of music go on this. Even 10 seconds will get me a hit. That was pretty weird. That did not sound very good. It sounded really terrible, in fact. Let's try it here. So, on the loud notes, I think I heard this thing hopping. It can actually do that. You can actually have this light enough that it'll hop out on loud notes, loud bassy notes. Let's hear it again. Wow, does that ever sound horrible? Man, that sounds bad. It's not the record. Okay, so I gotta be careful now. I've gone and done it. Okay, so big mistake, I just made it. Good thing, now you get to learn about it. If you lift the arm up while the record player is operating like this, there's a chance you will start the mechanism operating. I'm going to turn this off. And with the arm up, it'll try to move it, and it gets all jammed up in here. Next thing you know, the mechanism is grinding itself. So just be a little cautious about that mistake, which I made. Why so bad? Why you sound so bad? So one possibility is it's just ridiculously light, and it feels that way. So we're going to measure the weight of it. I have a scale. I have a scale in my record player box. Okay, where's the record player box? There we are. I believe I got this at a yard sale. Cool, eh? Look at that. All these wheels. That's exactly the one we were just using. Pretty sure. Yeah. I gotta look in these things once in a while and remind myself what I've got. Okay, but that's not what we're after. We're after the scale. Is the scale not in here? Okay, it's in another box. Oh my gosh, where's my scale gone? Uh-oh. I gotta hunt down the scale here, it's missing. Okay, you know where I found this? I found this exactly where I had put it on the shelf. That's where I found this. Tricky now to make a measurement. There are scales and ways that are made to work with a record player. The difficulty in doing this, especially with these spring-loaded ones, is you have to measure the pressure at the correct height. It can't be up higher. It's got to be at the height it's going to be at when the record's playing, and this is just really tough to do in here. So let's see if we got the good batteries. Why isn't it zeroing? Hey, come on. There we are. Again, maybe it wouldn't zero because I was holding it. What number are we looking for? So we're looking for something like a 6 or a 7 in here. Something like that. A 3. So we're really looking for like a 5 or a 6. Not a 3. 3 is pretty darn light. And it does feel light. The other thing is, you know, the needle could be a mess. Now it all looks pretty new to me. And also another thing is this could be the wrong needle. This has got a flip needle. Hey, maybe that's what it is. So, you know, if you have the sapphire needle, it's fatter. And it won't fall into the micro groove radios, records that, like the one I had on here. You would need, oh, we're still listening. You would need that. Now, why don't get all caught up here. There's only words on one side. It says, well, that's the identifier of the particular needle. It doesn't say, come on, which one's which? Maybe sometimes they're both diamond. Let's take a closer look. See if we can figure that out. Just going to adjust the focus right up tight. Now give us our first look at the needle too. And we'll see what we can see. What can we see? Lots and lots of needle there. Looks like there's something on it. Oh my gosh, I think I see why it didn't work well. The other side, oh no, there's, oh look what it did. Did you see that? Nah, lesson learned. That's how it got out. Now which needle is that? So that looks a little more, that looks sapphire-y. You can see it's kind of reddish. So that's the sapphire. The other one is the and son of a gun, it just looks like it's worn right out. The other one, the one that's pointing up, is the diamond one. The needle's wrecked. Wow, this is just not ending, is it? So what we need to do is take a look at that needle under the microscope and see what it really looks like up close. Okay, I'll be doing this all day today. Okay, getting these needles out of here is pretty easy. Kind of rotate it like that. And then you just kind of pull it forward out of this little clip back here. It comes out very easy. Here it is. Looks new. So we're going to go under the microscope here and see what we can see of it. Oh, let me make sure I've got it diamond side up. I think that's diamond side up. So we're going to look straight down on it. That's kind of the idea. And we'll see what we can see. Okay, see a blurry image. I'll focus. Oh, what happened? Okay, let me move this over a bit. Looking right down on it. Now, don't be confused. You're seeing two things there. One is the needle, and the other one is the back of the other needle. The one that's pointing up is the one that's towards the end of the cantilever arm here. I don't get any impression of anything looking at it like this. So we're going to turn it on its side. Now to do that, usually what I do is I get a little bit of tape. Gotta find some tape. Tape. An old piece of tape. Here we are. This is just really crummy masking tape, but it'll probably work. And what I do is I just lay the tape here, kind of sticky side up. I can't get it off my fingers though. Okay, that didn't work well. just going to stick this. I got to show you on the other camera what it is I've done. What have I done? So I'm just sticking it onto a piece of tape so it's standing up so we can see the needle from the side. The problem is when I bring it into focus, this may interfere with the microscope here. Let's go take a look. See what's happening. No, it's just fine. I'm getting my fingers off this sticky thing. Get off. Get off. There. Good. So this has a nice moving platform, so I can steer it nicely. What do we see? What do we see there? What do we see? What do we see? We see it's not quite in the middle here. Get a look at both of them now. Okay, let's try the focus. Okay, sorry, a little bit of a problem here. We're gonna use the zoom to try to focus this camera. Hang on tight. Oh, that's good. Okay, now we can see the point. And we can see the point, and we get the point. Still out of focus here. Not looking good, even out of focus. Let me try again. Here we are. So first of all, that looking at the one that's pointing upwards on your screen, the non-bluish one. So that's the diamond needle. The whole thing is not diamond. In fact, the diamond is just a little tip. So you should see a conical, be the right word, a tubular conical holder, which you see pushed through the cantilever. And at the very top of it, the holder part, resin or whatever the material is, should taper down a little bit. You can see it tapering, a little dirt there. And then the last part, if you notice, it looks black. That's the diamond needle. How bad is it? So, you know what I gotta do? I gotta clean it. Now I have a chance to demonstrate a very interesting cleaning technique, but only if I can find a little bit of magic eraser, which, you know what, I haven't seen it for so long. We'll have to do something else. So I can't show you the magic eraser trick. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use a brush. Just going to use like a paintbrush. Let me get it in view here so you can see it. Come on. Oh, those are the bristles. Ha! It looks like a broom, eh? Looks like I'm going to sweep it with a broom. Oh, now it's stuck to the paper. Yeah. I'm just having a great time. Let's take this off here. I'm going to use a little alcohol on this too. So, oh, that's so light it can't be doing anything, can it? Could be. Take a quick peek, just me, by myself. That's unbelievably better. Okay, that's good enough. Now I'm going to fix the situation here. Way too much tape. Less tape, flat. Stick them back on. What do we see now? Okay, back over. That's the edge of the tape there, I think. Oh, there he is. I'm all the way over here. So at the limit of the stage movement. Okay, good. Let go. There we are. Focus that by. Okay. Oh, it doesn't look that much better. It looked great, I thought. It's a little bit cleaner. Well, you know, it seems to have a point on it. Now we are looking at it sideways. You have to think about this. This is a needle being dragged through a groove for hundreds of miles, basically, during its lifetime. And it's going to wear down on the sides, which are in contact with the sides of the groove. And what it'll slowly do is it'll turn it less like a conical diamond shape like it is now, and it'll be more like a chisel dragging through there. To see the chisel, is tricky business. Can we see the chisel? So we need to look right on the, like right down the, maybe just on a slight angle. So where's it? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. A slight angle. What do we see now? This isn't as easy as you might think. So it looks like a chisel on the top there, but the chisel that would be there is the wrong way, right? It should be in line with the cantilever. So that's a reflection going down the side of the diamond. There's another whole technique we can try here. Let's give it a go and see what happens. So this is the old style technique. Back in the day when nobody had a microscope, but they still had to figure out if these needles were worn. So this is a technique to try to detect the flattened sides. And I've tried this many times. I've had some success and a lot of non-success with it. So first got to cut the light here. Now the microscope has its own light. I'm going to have to cut that too. Just getting rid of all the light here. I'm going to turn down the microscope light. Okay, and now I have a little light and I'm going to shine it on the side. So what we're looking at now is the reflection on the side of the diamond. And as I swing the light around, the reflection will sweep around the diamond. And if it hits a flat spot, we'll see it. And so I'm looking near the tip. And near the tip. So if there was a flat spot, we should have seen it already. And all we're seeing is a shiny vertical line. How convincing is this? Let me check the focus on it here. Hard to know when you got it exactly focused. Now you can kind of almost make out the diamond at the top of that now. So I'm swinging it around. So I don't see any flat spot glaring out here. And you're probably seeing this for the first time. You may not be sure what to look for. I have a whole set of needles that I occasionally put under the microscope and remind myself what good and bad needles look like. So this guy is coming in pretty darn good. You know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with this needle. Well, we could have had it the wrong way in the record. Okay, needle passes inspection. And the microscope blade itself. Now I have cleaned the needle, and you can see it's a little cleaner now. We're going to give it another try. Another try. And this time I'll make sure that the diamond needle is the needle that's in the record. So we want it this way. We want the words up. Put it in is the same as taking it out. There we go. Want the words up. Words up. Words are up. Words are up. Record. Record, please. We'll try the other side of the record. Looks a little dusty. How did it get so dusty? So we're on the right speed again, 33, and power still supplied the whole time. Sound, I got to turn the sound up. Roughly where it was. Something like that. That's a little high. How's that? And away we go. What will it sound like this time? I only put this on manual, but I guess it was. We got to figure that out. Okay, how about on the record? Sounds a little better. Let's cut this one. Let's go in a little further. Hey! Beautiful. Okay, that's all we needed to hear. Working. All working. Great. With stereo too, did you notice? Fantastic. So, now the needle was a little precarious, or the cartridge was a little precarious in how it was done here, but you know what? I don't think I'm going to fiddle with that. I think I'm going to leave it the way it is. Maybe I'll check to make sure it's tightened up a bit. And I think we've reached the end of the road here with this guy. He's done. He's ready to go back in. And I'm ready to start working on the receiver and amplifier for this. Well, it's a long video, I'm pretty sure. I don't know just how long. Let's see, I started here real early this morning. It's noon. So for me, this was the whole morning. So, but that's a pretty thorough look at how to bring a BSR turntable back to life. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching, and hope you enjoy your day. See ya.